Hello everybody, welcome back to Cuddles R Us. Today we're going to be going over the server structure inside Dune Awakening, so let's get into it. So in the recent live stream, we did see the server breakdown and where we're going to have servers, a lot of the nuances of what they're considering their server base. So they're talking roughly about the server, right? And then it's going to hold a whole bunch of sub-servers, which are going to be considered sieches. Those sieches all correlate to the same deep desert as that main server. So every instance is just going to be another siege. Each siege will be able to house 40 players, and those 40 players will make up that server or the cap of that siege. Doesn't mean that people can't join later on, but they will be put into a queue unless there's not 40 people there. And then, of course, you'll just get in, but the cap will be 40 people. So if they leave and then come back to that siege, they will be in a queue. We don't know how that queue system is going to function when you go to the deep desert and you come back to the Haga Basin. Will you be put in a queue because that siege or that Haga Basin is not full because you were in the deep desert or not? So that is something to consider when looking at like traveling out. Like you might not be able to get back into your siege, so you traveling with, water and stuff like that, to make sure that we stay hydrated and stay fueled up to make sure that we can get back into the Haga Basin that we came from. They did touch on joining your friends in other sieges, but they did state right away you cannot build on a siege that you are not a part of. So that siege you join to join your friend, you will not be able to build on, but you will be able to build on his equipment. So he can give you rights to his base to use his equipment to build on his base. But at the end of the day, you do not own anything if you travel to your buddy's base. They will still own it all. And when you travel back to your home dimension, you will have nothing there. So you might want to weigh your options and try to make sure you guys get in the same siege, especially if you guys are trying to just share a base. Like it might be in your best interest just to join the same siege and then both of you guys building on that same base anyway. That's my personal thought behind it. That's what I plan to do with Mrs. Cuddles and myself. That's like our goal. So then that way when I can play and I'm not making content, she's playing, and vice versa. Okay, because we want to make sure that we bring you guys as much content as possible. So do hit that like and subscribe. We're trying to get to the content creator program, so help us out. But with that said, is they went over also permissions that you're going to be able to give people that you meet, your friends. So when they start building, you'll be able to give these permissions for their vehicles and for your base. Now, there are other permissions that you can give, like to doorways and boxes that allow associates, guildmates, and public use. So that way you can make a doorway so where it's open up to the complete public where they can come in and look at your base. They won't be able to access any of the boxes unless you open up one of those boxes to allow them access to it. Which kind of stems from another issue of how refined are those permissions? Now, what does an associate permission on a vehicle look like? Is it just going to be a borderline like you can drive it, or is it I can be in it? Because that's going to be the real deciding factor. Because the only other permission that I've seen is the fact that you can make them an associate or a co-owner. There's no in between. And it also stems from the fact, like, if that co-owner takes that, can they put it in their vehicle backup tool and take it with them? And can they take that back to their server? which stems from like the other ideas, like you can build a couple of bikes for your buddy, or a Thopter or other things, and they can put it in their vehicle backup tool, and then they can take it back to their home, to their world, right? Maybe that'll give them a jump start on their world versus yours. Which, that could stem from a different things. Like, that also, begs to differ. Like, when you're transferred from your world to your party's, like your buddy's world, right? He said that you're going to transfer to the nearest outpost. Now, would that, like, I can see some sort of avenue where people would be using that to say, like, okay, this server just opened up. Go ahead, transfer to me. Now you're sitting at the end game outpost, right? That you've now unlocked, because all of the content that you unlock in one will unlock in the other. So we'll now unlock the end game outpost, and then you can just travel back to your own world, and you could have everything available to you. So you can have a bike. Your buddy could have a bike waiting there for you. He could have equipment there. He could trade you, and then instantly start the game with, a vehicle backup tool, a bike. So then that way, when you go back to your original world, you can actually just go expand and claim your land. Could be a way that guilds can do that. What they didn't say is that there are going to be guild bases. They said that you can allow guild members to access your base, but they didn't say that there was actual guild bases. So, like, at the point where it is right now, I don't really see a lot of, like, a reason for a guild to be pushing all of their resources together if they're not building something, unless they're trying to build something like for one person, or trying to like help the other person build, or trying to, like, I don't see it. But that's something that we're going to have to test when the game becomes live, or in the upcoming gameplay that we're going to be able to, do the beta like when they allow us to do a beta weekend, which they stated was coming up sometime this month or coming month. We don't know just yet. Stay tuned. Comment, hit the bell if you want to get more of that information when it goes live, because I will push it out as fast as I can. The moment I find out about it is the moment it goes live. So with that said, we also stream on Twitch. If you guys want to go over there, links in the comment below. Now, we'll be streaming mainly Dune focused content when the game goes live and we're allowed to stream it. So, but getting back to the fact that there's really not a big permission list. This is the thing that gets me, is like, we don't understand, and giving everybody ownership of your vehicle. Now, we don't, like, we've seen the fact of like how to build one in some of the other ones, some of the other content creators, when they built their bikes, that the co-owners like disassemble that and take it with them, or like what's stopping them from being able to do that? Also, like, we need to know what the role of the associate does, because we don't know any of that. But with that said, I mean, we are looking at an overall comprehensive look at where all the servers are going to be, and also kind of the permissions that we're going to have for our bases. But we do see that the servers are going to be very widespread. We're going to have 3 in North America. We're going to have a West Coast, a Central, and an East Coast. There's a South African, a Europe, an Asia, and an Australia server that's all going to be live at launch, which is very massive. But I do see it dividing a lot of the player base. So by having 40 members tied to a siege, okay, if everybody's on the west or on the east coast playing, you're going to have that peak time, and then you're going to have the downtime when nobody's playing. So you actually might on the west coast think it be beneficial for you to be on the east coast, because the east coast players aren't playing when you're going to be playing in your prime time, or vice versa. In east coast server, you might want to go west coast because they're not playing in your peak time. So that's something to consider. Leave a comment below. What do you think? If you got anything from it, like, subscribe, hit the bell for notifications. But let me know your comments. Thank you, and have a wonderful day.